There was a U.S. Navy strike on a boat this week. You just heard Tom Homan talking about it. The administration alleges was trafficking drugs for the Venezuelan gang Tren de Aragua. 11 people on the boat were killed. J.D. Vance tweeted, "Killing cartel members who poison our fellow citizens is the highest and best use of our military," to which a liberal commentator, Brian Krasenstein, responded, "Killing the citizens of another nation who are civilians without any due process is called a war crime." And then J.D. Vance responded, quote, "I don't give a shit what you call it." Scott Jennings, thoughts?
Well, I'll give you my political view of how I think most Americans are going to view it, and most Republicans certainly, and that is that societal decline is a choice. And when you let people come into the country by the millions, when you let drugs flow over the border, and you just say, well, let's just get them here and then see how the bureaucracy sorts it out, most people want a more aggressive response. Societal decline is a choice, and they see this illegal immigration problem and this drug flow problem as part of overall societal decline, and they are hoping and looking for and happy with Trump and Vance taking a muscular response to this.
Well, so wait, I want to read something that Senator Rand Paul said and come right to you because you used to work at the Justice Department under Biden. Senator Rand Paul, a Republican from Kentucky, said, "JD, I don't give a shit Vance," that's his words, not mine, it says, "killing people he accuses of a crime is the highest and best use of the military. Did he ever read To Kill a Mockingbird? Did he ever wonder what might happen if the accused were immediately executed without trial or representation? What a despicable and thoughtless sentiment it is to glorify killing someone without a trial."
Well, I'll say he has a lot of fair points there. I think there are things that the administration could be doing that are unlawful, and there are legal questions around it. But what I'll also say is that no administration, Republican or Democrat, has been for cartel leaders. Everyone has worked to arrest and extradite cartel leaders. But the way that they've done it successfully in the last administration, they had a dozen cartel leaders from the Sinaloa cartel that they extradited or arrested, is through the help of that country. And you have to have the intelligence from that country in order to arrest and extradite people. Once you start going around and killing people without coordination of a country, that intelligence often stops. And that is the last thing the Americans want, is for that to stop.
I just don't know how you get intelligence from a country like Venezuela.
Yes.
I mean, how? You have to stop their operational capabilities, number one. Number two, I would think about the 80s and the 90s and how drugs impacted the black community. Think about how drugs impacted poor white communities coming from south of the border. And so if you were to ask many of those family members who saw their children die or children get strung out on drugs, many children, the children of those people have parents that were in prison as a result of that drug addiction. So to me, you got to do everything you possibly can to destroy these guys. And arresting the cartel leaders, that's not enough, because you arrest one, then someone else rises to the top.
What do you think about this strike?
Well, I mean, I think we all want drugs kept out of our country, and we should be firm on that. I also believe that in America, you get due process, and just being accused, I haven't seen any solid evidence, and I look forward to having a full confidential briefing in Congress. We deserve it.
These are transnational terrorist organizations. We have to stop thinking of these people like they are just jaywalkers. They're not. They're terrorists. If Middle Eastern terrorists were on a boat trying to come into the United States with materials that would kill hundreds of thousands or millions of people, we would bomb them into the Stone Age or to the bottom of the ocean, which is what we did with this boat. We have to think of them that way. They are terrorists. They're coming to terrorize our communities, kill our children, and create societal decline in the United States. That is what we have to reframe our thinking on them.
Well, let me ask you this. There was a time during the Biden administration's chaotic withdrawal from Afghanistan where people thought they had intelligence on an Afghan van or truck, and Americans struck it, and it turned out it was just an innocent family. I mean, that is the difference between summary execution by the military and extraditing and arresting. So while there's no reason that I know of as of now to think this was anything other than what the Trump administration says it is always possible that the best men and women on the job might make a mistake, and you can't take it back when it's an execution.
It is possible. But at the same time, if you have faith in the military and faith in our intelligence services and faith in the people running them, and I do, then you have to trust that when they say, look, here comes a boatload of drug dealers who are coming to terrorize our communities. I mean, at some point, this is why we elect governments, and this is why those governments have military and intelligence structures to perform these kinds of operations. And I think the American people have been crying out for some kind of more muscular response, and they're willing to take the risk if it saves lives.
I agree on the muscular response. I think there needs to be a muscular response, and I think that every administration should have done that. And I think the last administration did that, and there was more that they could do. With that said, is if you start going off and killing people, the intelligence stops. And it's not just from Venezuela. That's not the only place where we get our intelligence. We get our intelligence from our allies. And that is critical intelligence in arresting and extraditing people and holding people accountable at the end of the day.
You made the point that we would work with allied countries in order to arrest these individuals.
And we
Venezuela is not an allied
I know, but
country
we
at
get
all.
our intelligence
and
from
the
other
reality
places
is,
besides
Jake, the
Venezuela.
reality is, if you're going to have an unfortunate casualty, consider the fact that millions of Americans since the 80s have died as a result of drug addiction, overdosing. Are we not going to consider the realities of the impact on real families to this day?
Stick